Let's talk about reasons why people do black and white photography. There is, of course, a love for that particular format. Most of my favorite photographers are black and white photographers. I feel they speak most directly to me, to my own personal aesthetics. I absolutely love a number of color photographers, but when people hit me like, what's your top five? They're all black and white guys. Richard Avedon, Ralph Eugene Meatyard, so on and so forth. Another reason to go straight to black and white is the connotation of it being a classic form. Now, classiness is very subjective, of course, but there is always something to be said for things that feel a little retro, a little vintage, like they are from the past, because the aesthetics that we generally like from the past are the ones that have been able to stand the test of time. They're not completely retro that you look at it and you say, what a throwback. They're retro in the sense that they've always maintained their coolness, and I feel like a lot of black and white photography has done that. It has been able to feel old yet modern, and it carries history built into the process. The only time that I do not feel that black and white photography feels timeless and cool is when it's filled with a bunch of modern sharpening tools, where people over-process the image, where it has like details to the point where you can see the pores on a person's face. That just feels so hyper digital, and something that is hyper digital and black and white, it doesn't match up in my own brain. If you are coming from a different era, it's possible that you may be able to accept this newer version, this new hyper sharp version of black and white, but I just can't bring myself to doing that. That's part of the reason why I deliberately add lo-fi elements to my own photographs for black and white. Another reason to go black and white is that, much like fashion, black goes with everything. So if you have somebody who is looking for wall art in their house, if it's got a strong color that doesn't match the rest of the works in the house, then they're less likely to buy it and furnish their space than they would something that is black and white and doesn't clash with existing color schemes. Now, I don't make my artwork thinking about random people's houses, how they design their living room and so on and so forth. But it is a consideration if that is the avenue that you are putting your work out there. In my own photography, I do both color and black and white. And when I make the decision to convert to black and white, generally it's based off of the fact that maybe there's no strong color element in the aesthetics of the photograph. If we think back to our art classes, there's elements of art, there's principles of design, and there's shape, negative space, positive space, value, color, texture, a whole bunch of others that go into creating artwork that effectively communicates. If there is nothing in a photo that requires it to be color, and I'm not trying to fit it into a grouping of photos that are all in color, I am very likely to go straight to black and white, because that's what's going to communicate most directly to a viewer. What do I mean by this? I'll go ahead and show you a few photos that have strong color elements to them, and it doesn't make sense to reduce out the color. And then other ones where basically the only color is the skin tone of the person who's in it, and maybe there's a lot of textural elements around that person, but those textural elements are already black and white. Things like metal that doesn't really evoke anything, and maybe it's even an ugly color, or colors that are distracting. Maybe there's something in the background that's red, but your person in the foreground is wearing green, and they just compete with each other. Black and white is a great option for those kinds of images.